There are moments when life feels heavier than it should, not because something dramatic happened, but because your mind wakes up already crowded. Thoughts running ahead of your energy, emotions shifting before you can give them names. A quiet pressure trying to push you toward decisions you have not fully understood. You step into the day carrying an invisible weight that does not belong to you, and even before you realize it, you are already reacting instead of choosing. It is exactly in this space, where clarity blurs and the inner noise rises, that the presence of the Holy Spirit becomes not just comforting, but essential. Walking daily with Him is not a mystical routine for the spiritually elite. It is a practical, stabilizing, deeply human way of living that brings order to the chaos inside you. Think of it this way. Every thought you have carries a direction. Every decision carries a consequence. Every emotion carries a message. The Holy Spirit walks with you not to control these movements, but to align them with truth. When your mind rushes forward, He slows your pace. When fear becomes louder than logic, He steadies your reasoning. When old habits try to repeat themselves, He interrupts the cycle and offers you a different path. This walk is not about perfection. It is about perception. You begin to notice what was always there, guiding you gently, quietly, patiently. The human mind is naturally inclined to drift. Judith S. Beck explains how automatic thoughts shape emotions and behaviors long before we are aware of them. Andrew Huberman shows how the nervous system can be trained to shift out of stress and into clarity through small, repeated actions. The Stoics insisted that inner order creates outer strength. Descartes taught that clear thinking leads to a clear life. When you walk with the Holy Spirit, all of these truths converge into something even deeper. You begin to see that your internal world is not random. It can be shaped, it can be stabilized, it can be renewed. And the Spirit does this renewal every day, step by step, thought by thought, moment by moment. Imagine starting your day already carried by a sense of direction. Imagine feeling a gentle strength inside you that does not depend on your mood or circumstances. Imagine noticing a calm awareness rising in the background of your mind, rearranging your reactions, guiding your focus, giving your heart the courage to stay present. This is not a fantasy. It is what happens when you learn to walk daily with the Spirit. He does not demand a performance. He asks for permission. He does not force transformation. He cultivates it. He does not overwhelm your senses. He aligns them. This guide is not about complicated rituals or long spiritual checklists. It is about recognizing the movements of the Spirit that have been reaching for you from the very first step of your day. Once you learn how to notice Him, everything changes. Your decisions become clearer, your emotions become quieter, your inner battles lose their grip, and slowly a new version of you begins to take form, a version anchored, aware, present, and able to move through life with confidence and discernment. Today, we begin this walk together. The first footstep, when the Spirit moves before you notice. The very first movement of the Holy Spirit in your day happens long before your mind is fully awake, long before you remember who you need to call, what you need to fix, or what you are worried about. It begins in that quiet and fragile space between sleep and consciousness, when your thoughts have not yet formed their patterns and your emotions have not decided how loudly they will speak. In that small window of vulnerability, when the mind is still unguarded, the Spirit is already at work. His presence is not introduced with intensity or spectacle. It rises the way dawn touches a room, not by forcing itself inside, but by slowly revealing what is already there. You do not hear Him arrive because He was present before you return to awareness. Most people believe that walking with the Holy Spirit begins when they intentionally invite Him into their day, when they pray out loud, or when they set a spiritual focus. But the truth is more intimate. The Spirit initiates the connection before you do. He takes the first step, not because you are spiritually disciplined, but because you are human, and you wake up carrying more emotional weight than you admit. Judith Beck often describes how automatic thoughts appear immediately upon waking and begin to shape your emotional state before you have the chance to challenge them. Andrew Huberman explains that the moments after opening your eyes are marked by heightened neuroplasticity, meaning the brain is uniquely impressionable and susceptible to influence. This makes the beginning of the day a psychological and neurological crossroads, and the Spirit knows exactly how vulnerable you are in this moment. Before your reasoning awakens, the Spirit steadies you. Before your fear finds its voice, the Spirit softens its tone. Before your worries position themselves at the front of your mind, the Spirit moves them aside and places something else there. You may not notice this shift consciously, but you feel it as a subtle calm, a quiet breath, an unexpected sense of grounding that seems to appear without explanation. These are not coincidences. They are the Spirit rearranging your internal world before you take ownership of it. You think you woke up on your own, but the first step was not yours. You opened your eyes into a presence that was already guiding the direction of your thoughts and the temperature of your emotions. Walking with the Spirit begins with recognizing the reality that He is aware of your internal state, even before you are. Descartes believed that perception precedes understanding, and this fits perfectly with the Spirit's movement. He touches what you feel before you can explain it. He stabilizes your inner world before you begin interacting with the outer one. He prepares your emotional structure before the day has the chance to shape it for you. That moment when your body exhales deeply for no reason, or when your mind hesitates before jumping into anxiety, or when a quiet clarity rises unexpectedly, is often the Spirit interrupting the usual patterns you wake up with. Huberman teaches that the nervous system communicates with the mind long before conscious thought emerges, and the Spirit often works through these physiological pathways. A slowed heartbeat, a deeper breath, a softened tension in the chest, a momentary sense of safety are often the language through which He moves first. The Stoics insisted that the first battle of the day is internal and that victory begins with mastering your immediate reactions. The Spirit positions you for this victory by rearranging your internal responses before they fully form. When you start noticing these subtle early movements, something shifts inside you. You begin to understand that the Spirit is not waiting for you to reach a higher level of spiritual awareness. He meets you in your most human moments, especially when you are still half asleep and defenseless against your own thoughts. You begin to realize that the stability you feel does not come from your discipline, but from His consistency. The calm does not come from your strength, but from His presence. The clarity, even when faint, is not self-generated, but divinely initiated. This is the first footstep. The Spirit moves before you notice. He begins the walk before you take your first conscious breath. And when you finally recognize this subtle, quiet, yet powerful truth, you begin to see that you have never started a single day alone. The inner stillness that opens the door. The moment your day truly begins is not when you start moving, but when your mind starts accelerating. Thoughts push forward before your feet touch the floor. Responsibilities begin whispering before you open the curtains. Emotions begin shaping themselves before you speak your first word. And in the middle of this rapid and almost automatic internal unfolding, there is something inside you that longs for stillness, not as an escape, but as a doorway. The Holy Spirit does not enter the mind through noise. He enters through the spaces you allow to remain quiet. Yet most people move through their day without ever noticing how these silent spaces appear naturally throughout the morning. They pass through them like someone running through a room without realizing the door was already open. Inner stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the quiet awareness beneath your thoughts, the space where your mind stops wrestling with itself. Judith Beck describes how cognitive clarity often emerges not when a person tries harder to control their thoughts, but when they step back and observe them with distance. This small shift creates room for new interpretations to form. Andrew Huberman explains that the nervous system becomes more stable when the prefrontal cortex is given a moment to settle, allowing the brain to regulate emotional intensity and shift away from stress-driven patterns. The Holy Spirit works precisely in this space. His voice does not compete with internal chaos. Instead, He waits for the small moments when your defenses loosen and your inner world briefly becomes receptive. You may notice this stillness in the seconds after turning off your alarm, when your mind has not yet flooded with everything you need to do. For a brief moment, there is space. The Spirit often speaks in that space. You may feel it when you pause at the sink, letting water run over your hands without rushing. In that subtle pause, there is space. The Spirit often aligns you in that space. Or perhaps you feel it when you take a slow breath without meaning to, sensing a calm beneath your busyness. That calm is not accidental. It is a doorway. The Spirit often steps through it before you even realize it is open. Most people try to force spiritual clarity through effort. They believe they need more discipline, more concentration, more intensity. But the way the Spirit works is different. He uses stillness as a stabilizing force that neutralizes emotional noise and creates a path toward discernment. If you think about it through the lens of philosophy, Descartes viewed clarity not as something achieved through struggle, but as something revealed when the mind stops being pulled in conflicting directions. The Stoics taught that silence is the foundation of wisdom, because it allows the mind to see reality without distortion. When you combine these ancient principles with modern neuroscience, a truth becomes clear. The Spirit speaks most effectively to the mind that is not fighting itself. Inner stillness is therefore not passive. It is transformative. It shifts your internal conditions. It organizes your emotional landscape. It slows the automatic rush that usually dictates how your day unfolds. The Spirit uses this stillness to direct your attention toward what truly matters. He removes the exaggerated weight from thoughts that would otherwise grow uncontrollably. He calms emotional reactions that were preparing to take over your decisions. He brings a sense of groundedness that does not come from your circumstances, but from His presence inside you. Imagine standing at the edge of your day with two paths before you. One is the familiar path of rushing, reacting, and losing yourself in the acceleration of the world around you. The other is quiet, steady, and clear. You step onto that path not by slowing your life, but by stilling your mind just enough to hear the Spirit guiding you. This is the doorway He uses. Not force, not pressure, not performance, stillness. When you start recognizing these small moments of inner quiet, the dynamic of your entire day changes. You no longer move from urgency, but from direction. You no longer make decisions from fear, but from clarity. You no longer respond from emotional overload, but from stability. The Spirit does not silence your mind. He aligns it. He does not remove your responsibilities. He equips you to face them with a balanced internal state. He does not change every situation around you. He changes how you carry yourself within them. This stillness is not rare. It appears repeatedly throughout the day, a pause before a conversation, a moment of hesitation before responding to a message, a breath before making a decision. These small spaces are invitations. Every time you step into them, the Spirit meets you there. Every time you allow silence to exist inside you, the door opens wider. The inner stillness the Spirit creates is not the end of your walk. It is the beginning. It is the condition that allows His presence to move from the background to the center. It is the difference between living from internal chaos and living from spiritual clarity. And once you learn to recognize this doorway, you start discovering that the Spirit was never far. He was waiting for you to notice the quiet He placed inside you. The dialogue of thoughts. How the Spirit rewrites your inner language. There is a moment in every person's day where thoughts begin speaking louder than reality. It may happen when you are getting dressed, driving to work, stepping into a conversation, or even standing still. The mind begins forming interpretations, predictions, warnings, judgments, and assumptions faster than you can sort them. These thoughts feel automatic, natural, and unquestionable, but most people do not realize that their inner language was shaped long before they consciously chose any of it. Childhood experiences, emotional wounds, unchallenged beliefs, fears, and patterns of perception all combine to create a private vocabulary that dictates how they interpret the world. This inner dialogue becomes the lens through which life is understood. And this is where the Holy Spirit begins some of His most transformative work. Walking daily with the Spirit means allowing Him to reorganize this internal dialogue. The Spirit does not simply comfort, He corrects. He does not simply soothe, He rewires. Judith Beck explains that our thoughts influence our emotional responses far more than circumstances do. Change the thought and emotional stability becomes possible. Leave the thought unchecked and the same patterns repeat endlessly. Yet what human effort often cannot accomplish, the Spirit can. He enters the inner language not by force, but by clarity, exposing what is distorted and replacing it with truth that aligns with who you are becoming rather than who you once were. Imagine the types of thoughts that appear automatically. Thoughts like, I cannot handle this, something will go wrong, people will judge me, or I am not enough. These thoughts have a tone, a temperature, a rhythm. They arise quickly and feel familiar because they have been repeated so many times that the mind accepts them as unquestionable facts. But when the Spirit walks with you, something strange begins to happen. The tone of those thoughts begins to shift. They lose some of their authority. They sound less convincing, they feel less final. The Spirit introduces a new internal language that interrupts the old one. Where fear once spoke first, now a quiet confidence emerges. Where doubt once dominated, now a gentle clarity rises. Where self-criticism once sharpened itself, now a more compassionate and honest voice appears in its place. Andrew Huberman explains that the brain is constantly updating its internal maps through neuroplasticity. Every new thought, when repeated and reinforced, creates new neural pathways. The Spirit works through this same biological design. He does not bypass your humanity. He transforms it. He uses the flexibility of the mind to introduce new interpretations that align not with fear, but with truth. When he rewrites your inner language, he is not adding spiritual decoration. He is changing the structure of how you think, feel, and interpret the world. There comes a moment when you begin to notice that your thoughts are no longer moving in the same direction they used to. You pause before accepting a negative assumption. You question whether your emotional reaction is truly rooted in reality. You sense an internal shift, as if your mind is learning to speak a new dialect. This is the Spirit's influence. He does not erase your thoughts. He teaches your mind how to recognize which thoughts come from old wounds and which ones come from truth. This is what Descartes meant when he said that clarity and distinctness are the foundations of sound reasoning. The Spirit brings clarity to what was once confused and distinctness to what was once distorted. This inner transformation becomes even more evident in situations that would normally trigger you. A stressful moment that used to spiral into anxiety now becomes an opportunity for the Spirit to steady your reasoning. A conflict that would have overwhelmed you now becomes a moment where you sense a different kind of strength inside you. The Stoics taught that the mind can govern emotional storms when it learns to interpret events with wisdom. The Spirit does not merely teach this, he embodies it. His presence becomes the steady interpreter of your thoughts, guiding you to see what is true and letting go of what is not. Over time, the language inside you begins to change entirely. The mind that once predicted danger now begins to anticipate possibility. The thoughts that once carried accusation now carry direction. The beliefs that once weighed you down now make room for resilience. You begin feeling aligned with something wiser than your impulses and stronger than your fears. And this alignment does not appear in a dramatic moment. It appears in the quiet rewriting of your inner dialogue. Walking with the Spirit is not only an experience of guidance, it is an experience of renewal. Your thoughts become more honest. Your emotions become more stable. Your reactions become more grounded. This is the dialogue of thoughts that the Spirit transforms day after day. You begin to see that you were never meant to navigate the world with an internal language shaped by pain and habit. You were meant to think with clarity, perceive with wisdom, and interpret your life from the perspective of truth. This is the work the Spirit does quietly, persistently, faithfully. He rewrites your inner language until your thoughts no longer lead you away from who you are becoming. They begin to lead you toward it. The alignment reflex, how your body responds to spiritual presence. There is a moment in every spiritual journey when you realize that the Holy Spirit does not speak only to your mind. He speaks to your body as well. Many people believe that spiritual guidance is purely cognitive or emotional, something sensed only through intuition or inner peace. But the human body is deeply integrated with the mind, and the mind is deeply connected to the Spirit. This means that walking daily with the Holy Spirit involves not only a shift in how you think, but a shift in how your body responds to life. The Spirit's presence influences your physiology in ways that are subtle but unmistakable. Once you learn how to recognize them, the body communicates through signals long before the mind forms interpretations. A tense chest, a shallow breath, a racing heartbeat, tightened shoulders, or a sudden heaviness are often reactions that appear automatically. Andrew Huberman explains that the nervous system reacts to internal and external cues faster than conscious awareness can register them. This means your body feels things before your mind knows what it feels. When you walk with the Holy Spirit, He begins influencing this initial layer of experience. Instead of allowing old patterns of fear or stress to dictate your reactions, the Spirit introduces a new alignment. Your body begins responding in ways that reflect peace, even when your circumstances do not. Consider how you react in moments of uncertainty. Maybe your breath becomes uneven, or your stomach tightens, or your muscles begin to brace as if preparing for something negative. These reactions are not intentional. They are reflexes shaped by past experiences and protective mechanisms built over years. But when the Spirit is present, something shifts. A situation that once triggered panic now triggers a slower breath. A moment that once activated tension now releases it. A conversation that once made your heart race now meets a surprising internal steadiness. This is not self-control. This is alignment. The Spirit influences the body by calming the physiological storm before it becomes emotional chaos. Judith Beck explains that physical sensations often precede cognitive distortions. Change the physical response, and the emotional interpretation begins to change as well. The Holy Spirit uses this psychological truth to reshape your reactions. When He is near, your breathing deepens without effort. Your posture becomes more grounded. Your heartbeat stabilizes. The noise inside you quiets. These changes may seem biological, but they are also spiritual because the Spirit works through the system God designed. He does not bypass your biology. He heals it from within. There is also a philosophical dimension to this. Aristotle believed that virtue is not only a state of mind, but a state of being, something that shapes how a person acts, reacts, and carries themselves in the world. The Stoics taught that inner peace produces physical poise, and that the body reflects the harmony of the mind. When the Holy Spirit walks with you, both of these principles become real. Your body becomes a reflection of the transformation happening inside you. You no longer live in a constant state of reactivity. You begin to inhabit your body with the stability of someone who is guided rather than driven, anchored rather than tossed around. This alignment reflex shows up in the smallest moments. A sudden pause that protects you from speaking too quickly. A deep breath that prevents you from reacting impulsively. A subtle calm that appears before you make a decision. A release of tension that lets you step into a difficult situation with clarity rather than anxiety. These are not coincidences. They are the Spirit regulating your internal state, using the built-in mechanisms of your nervous system to align you with truth, wisdom, and emotional balance. Over time, this alignment becomes something you recognize immediately. You begin to notice that your body no longer responds with the same level of fear, urgency, or exhaustion. You begin to experience resilience, not as an effort, but as a natural consequence of being guided. The Holy Spirit starts shaping your physical presence. Your shoulders feel lighter, your breath deeper, your posture more open. You feel more connected to the present moment because the Spirit brings your mind and body into harmony instead of letting them operate in conflict. This transformation is not sudden, but it is steady. The Spirit rewrites how your body experiences the world by healing the places where fear once lived. He settles the restless parts of your nervous system. He calms the hyperactive patterns that exhaustion created. He strengthens the areas that trauma weakened. Slowly, the alignment becomes a reflex. The body responds to His presence before the mind even notices it. This is one of the most powerful signs that you are truly walking with Him. Your body no longer behaves like someone trying to survive. It behaves like someone being guided. And the more you walk with the Spirit, the more natural this alignment becomes. Peace is no longer something you chase. It is something your body recognizes and embraces because it senses the one who walks with you. The sacred interruption. When the Spirit stops you to save you. There are moments in life when something inside you suddenly slows down, hesitates, or pulls you back, even though your mind is ready to move forward. You reach for the phone to send a message and stop without knowing why. You begin walking toward a decision and feel an unexpected resistance. You prepare to speak, but something holds your words in place. Most people ignore these interruptions because they assume hesitation is a sign of doubt or weakness. But when you walk daily with the Holy Spirit, these interruptions take on a different meaning. They become moments of divine intervention, subtle warnings, gentle redirections, and protective pauses that appear exactly when you need them most. The Holy Spirit does not always guide you through inspiration. Sometimes He guides you through interruption. There is a kind of internal stop that has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with discernment. It feels like an invisible hand quietly resting on your shoulder, asking you to wait, to observe, to reconsider. This is not the paralysis of anxiety. It is the wisdom of restraint. Judith Beck explains that many emotional reactions and impulsive decisions emerge from deeply learned patterns, and without conscious awareness, people repeat the same mistakes because their minds are wired to move faster than their reasoning. The Spirit interrupts this automatic trajectory. He places a pause between the impulse and the action, giving you room to choose rather than react. Think of the moments where your timing felt strangely delayed. Maybe you left the house later than planned and avoided something harmful. Maybe a conversation you wanted to force was postponed and ended up unfolding more peacefully later. Maybe a job, relationship, or opportunity slipped through your fingers only for you to realize later that it would have broken you in ways you could not see at the time. These are not accidents. The Spirit uses interruption as a shield. Andrew Huberman describes how the brain has natural braking systems that activate when something feels unsafe. The Spirit often works through these same biological mechanisms, amplifying your internal signals when danger or misalignment approaches. At first, these interruptions feel inconvenient, even frustrating. You may think you are losing momentum or becoming indecisive, but if you pay attention to what happens after the interruption, you begin to see the deeper pattern. Something you did not know becomes clear. Something hidden becomes visible. Something harmful is avoided without you ever knowing how close it came to touching your life. The Spirit protects you, not only by moving you forward, but by stopping you at the exact moment you need to pause. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of the pause between stimulus and response, calling it the space where wisdom lives. Descartes believed that withholding action until clarity emerges is one of the purest forms of rational strength. When the Holy Spirit interrupts you, He is giving you that same space. You are not losing progress. You are gaining perspective. You are not being held back. You are being redirected toward truth rather than toward the illusions your emotions or perceptions might have created. This interruption can also show up in your body. A sudden heaviness in your stomach, a tightening in your chest, a shift in your breathing. These signals are often dismissed as stress, but when the Spirit is guiding you, they can serve as warnings. Your body is quicker than your mind, and the Spirit often uses physiological cues to catch your attention before you act impulsively. Huberman explains that intuition often begins as a physical sensation long before the mind interprets it. When the Spirit partners with this biological sensitivity, your intuition becomes clearer and more reliable. Over time, you begin to recognize the difference between fear-based hesitation and Spirit-led interruption. Fear makes you shrink. The Spirit makes you pause. Fear clouds your clarity. The Spirit sharpens it. Fear tells you not to move because you are incapable. The Spirit tells you to wait because the moment or direction is not aligned with what God is building in you. There will be moments in your life when God protects you by slowing you down. You may not understand it in the moment, but later you will see how every pause was a form of mercy. Every hesitation was a shield. Every delay was a divine adjustment in your trajectory. The Spirit is not only a guide, He is a guardian. His interruptions are not denials. They are redirections toward what is truly meant for you. This sacred interruption becomes one of the clearest signs that you are not walking alone. You begin to see how many painful decisions you avoided without even knowing it. You realize how many unnecessary battles you never had to fight. You learn that sometimes the most powerful guidance comes not through inspiration, but through restraint. And when you embrace these interruptions, you discover a life that moves with more clarity, more timing, more purpose, and more peace. The echo of obedience, tiny choices that reshape your future. There are moments in your walk with the Holy Spirit when the decisions you make seem so small that they feel insignificant. You choose to step away from a conversation that could have led to conflict. You decide not to say a sentence you know would have wounded someone. You take a deeper breath before reacting to stress. You pause long enough to evaluate your emotions before letting them dictate your behavior. These choices rarely look heroic. No one applauds them. No one even notices them. But the Holy Spirit does. What looks small to you is often the very place where the Spirit begins reshaping your future. People often look for transformation in dramatic moments, expecting God to move through major breakthroughs, overwhelming encounters, or sudden changes. But the Spirit works most powerfully in the small spaces, the moments that appear ordinary, yet carry tremendous influence over your character, your habits, and your direction in life. Judith Beck explains that the human mind is shaped primarily through repeated patterns, and that consistent small choices have far greater long-term impact than occasional big efforts. Andrew Huberman reinforces this by showing how tiny actions performed daily rewire the brain more effectively than larger, inconsistent ones. When the Holy Spirit partners with this biological truth, your obedience becomes a spiritual and neurological force that quietly rebuilds your inner world. Every choice you make leaves an imprint. Silence instead of anger strengthens self-control. Patience instead of frustration reshapes your emotional balance. Honest reflection instead of denial fortifies your clarity. These small decisions begin echoing through your future in ways you do not immediately understand. The Holy Spirit guides you toward these choices, not to burden you with perfection, but to anchor you in transformation that grows one quiet act at a time. These choices sculpt who you are becoming long before they influence the circumstances around you. Many believers underestimate these small obediences because they expect spiritual maturity to feel dramatic. But the Spirit prefers consistency over spectacle. He looks at the way you choose to respond in moments where no one is watching, where your character is tested in silence, and where the easiest response would be giving in to old patterns. When you choose differently, even if just once, the Spirit amplifies that choice. He reinforces it. He uses it as a building block for deeper growth. The path of obedience is not measured by the difficulty of the command, but by the willingness to respond to the inner prompting of the Spirit. There is also a philosophical depth to this truth. Aristotle taught that virtue is developed through repeated action, and that a person becomes what they consistently choose. The Stoics believed that character is built moment by moment, not through grand gestures but through deliberate responses to everyday situations. When you combine these principles with the work of the Holy Spirit, you find that spiritual growth is not separate from daily life. It is woven into it. Every time you follow the Spirit's nudge, you are not just avoiding a mistake. You are aligning yourself with who God designed you to be. Sometimes these choices feel costly. You may feel tempted to revisit an old habit, to respond without thinking, or to pursue something that satisfies your immediate emotions. But the Spirit invites you into a different rhythm, one where clarity outweighs impulse, and where obedience outweighs comfort. This is not about suppression. It is about alignment. When you choose the path the Spirit is guiding you toward, you are not denying yourself joy or freedom. You are choosing a future that carries peace rather than regret. There is a moment in every person's life when they look back and realize that the future they are living did not come from one big decision. It came from a series of small obediences that seemed insignificant at the time. You may not see the impact immediately, but the Spirit sees the entire timeline of your life. He knows how one small act of integrity today prevents a painful consequence tomorrow. He knows how one moment of patience creates emotional stability that will support you in a difficult season. He knows how walking away from a temptation now strengthens you for a greater blessing later. Over time, these small obediences accumulate. They begin to change the way you think, the way you feel, the way you react, and the way you live. You begin to sense a new strength rising in you, one that does not come from discipline alone, but from agreement with the Spirit's work within you. The future that once felt unpredictable begins to take form. The path that once felt unclear becomes illuminated step by step. You realize that the life God is building in you is constructed through decisions that once seemed too small to matter. This is the echo of obedience. It is the sound of your life aligning with God's direction in the quiet moments where transformation truly begins. It is the subtle yet powerful ripple that moves outward, shaping the days ahead, protecting your purpose, and anchoring your identity. And as you continue to make these small choices, the Spirit continues to amplify them, turning each one into a foundational stone in the future you are destined to walk into. The unseen conversations. How the Spirit speaks through circumstances. There comes a point in your walk with the Holy Spirit when you begin to understand that not every message He sends comes through a quiet inner voice. Many times the Spirit speaks through the circumstances around you. He shapes timing, opens doors in ways you could never force, closes paths you were determined to take, introduces people who shift your direction, and removes others when their presence would have derailed your growth. These movements are not random. They are conversations. But because they do not sound like words, most people miss them entirely. They mistake delays for setbacks, closed doors for rejection, unexpected encounters for coincidence, and disruptions for inconvenience. Yet, each of these moments can be a message, a correction, or a guidance crafted with precision for your life. To understand these conversations, you first need to understand that God operates within the flow of your life, not outside it. The Holy Spirit speaks in ways that align with your humanity. He uses the rhythm of your days, the people you meet, the opportunities that appear, the obstacles you face, and even the disappointments that break your expectations. Judith Beck teaches that our interpretations of events determine their emotional impact. Two people can experience the same situation and walk away with different conclusions based on the stories they tell themselves. The Spirit intervenes in this mental process by shaping not only the events themselves, but the meaning behind them. He creates moments where clarity becomes possible through what unfolds around you, rather than within you. Think about the times when something unexpected happened, and later you realized it was exactly what you needed. A cancelled plan led to a conversation that changed your perspective. A missed opportunity saved you from a commitment that would have drained your strength. A closed door redirected you towards something better. These are not interruptions of God's will. They are expressions of it. Andrew Huberman explains that the brain constantly scans the environment for patterns, and when something unexpected disrupts those patterns, it forces the mind to pay attention. The Spirit often uses these moments of disruption to draw your awareness to something you would not have seen otherwise. There are also moments when He speaks through alignment. You may feel drawn to a place, a decision, or a person without fully understanding why. You arrive somewhere at the perfect time, overhear something you needed to hear, or meet someone who becomes important to your spiritual journey. These alignments feel almost too intentional to be coincidence. The Stoics believed that life reveals direction through signs, and that wisdom comes from paying attention to them rather than dismissing them. When the Holy Spirit is guiding you, these signs are not abstract ideas. They are the living patterns of God's involvement with your reality. The Spirit also speaks through obstacles. When you try to force something that is not meant for you, your efforts feel heavy, strained, and resistant. No matter how hard you push, something remains misaligned. This is not punishment. It is protection. Descartes believed that confusion is often a sign that the mind is not perceiving truth clearly. When you experience repeated resistance toward a path you want, the Spirit may be redirecting you to something that fits your purpose more honestly. You may want immediate results, but the Spirit wants long-term alignment. There are times when circumstances become uncomfortable because the Spirit is guiding you out of a place where you would have settled. Comfort can be deceptive. It can convince you that staying where you are is safer than stepping into the unknown. But growth does not happen where you are unchallenged, so the Spirit may create tension to push you forward. Judith Beck points out that people rarely change without a trigger that disrupts their normal patterns. The Spirit can use discomfort as that trigger, gently encouraging you to move toward the life He has prepared. One of the most powerful ways the Spirit speaks through circumstances is through timing. A door that opens too soon can overwhelm you. A door that opens too late can discourage you. But a door that opens at the exact right time becomes unmistakably divine. These moments teach you that the Spirit is not only guiding your decisions, He is guiding the calendar of your life. You begin to see that what you thought was delay was actually preparation. What you thought was waiting was strengthening. What you thought was uncertainty was alignment forming beneath the surface. As you continue walking with the Spirit, you start noticing these conversations more easily. You begin paying attention to the shifts in your day, the interruptions that redirect your thoughts, the alignments that create clarity, the obstacles that protect you from harm, and the timing that feels too precise to ignore. You stop living reactively and begin living perceptively. You move through the world with an awareness that God is not silent. He is speaking continually through everything that touches your life. There comes a moment when you look back and realize how many answers you received without hearing a single word. The Spirit has been guiding you, shaping your steps, redirecting your path, and orchestrating your growth through every circumstance, relationship, and moment you thought was ordinary. Nothing was random, everything was communication. The daily recalibration, returning to the path every time you drift. There is something every human being shares, no matter how strong their faith or how committed their heart is. We drift, not because we are careless or distant from God, but because the mind is naturally restless. Thoughts wander, emotions fluctuate, desires shift without warning. One moment you feel centered, grounded, spiritually aware, and the next moment your mind is racing, your frustration is rising, or your attention is tangled in something that steals your peace. This drifting is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of being human, and the Holy Spirit knows this better than you do. This is why one of the most powerful aspects of walking with Him is the continual recalibration He offers throughout your day. This recalibration is not dramatic. It rarely looks like a sudden revelation or an overwhelming spiritual surge. Instead, it feels like a gentle tug back to center, a quiet reminder to breathe, a moment of clarity when your mind was beginning to scatter. Judith Beck teaches that thoughts often slip into automatic patterns that pull you away from your values without you realizing it. The Spirit intervenes in these patterns, not by forcing you back into focus, but by opening a space where you can realign yourself. This is the real work of transformation. It is not staying on the path perfectly. It is returning to the path repeatedly. You may notice this recalibration during moments of emotional imbalance. Perhaps frustration begins to rise in you faster than you can process it. You feel the familiar tightening in your chest, the mental acceleration, the desire to react impulsively. But then something inside you pauses. A thought emerges that is calmer than the situation deserves. A sense of perspective appears that your emotions did not create. A breath enters your body that you did not intentionally take. This is the Spirit bringing you back, resetting your internal compass before your reactions take control of your day. Andrew Huberman explains that the nervous system is constantly shifting between states of stress and calm. Without guidance, the mind tends to drift toward whatever stimulus feels most urgent. The Spirit offers a different kind of stimulus, one based not on urgency, but on truth. He uses your physiology to pull you back into alignment. A slowed breath, a relaxed muscle, a shift in posture are often signs that the Spirit is recalibrating you, not by bypassing your biology, but by engaging with it. God designed the body, and the Spirit uses its mechanisms to bring your mind into clarity. Recalibration also happens in your thoughts. You may be moving through your day with the weight of a worry pressing on your chest. Your mind begins building catastrophic scenarios, turning small problems into impossible ones. But then an unexpected thought cuts through the noise. It is quieter, simpler, and strangely steady. It reminds you that you are not alone, that this problem is not as big as your fear is making it, and that your strength is not the source of your peace. This is the Spirit recalibrating your perspective. Descartes believed that clarity emerges when the mind separates truth from the distortions it creates under pressure. The Spirit brings this clarity with more precision than any human reasoning could. There are also moments when recalibration shows up in your choices. You may feel drawn toward something that seems harmless, but does not align with who you are becoming. You may feel tempted to slip back into an old habit, an old mindset, or an old emotional pattern. But before you follow that impulse, something inside you disrupts the momentum. You sense discomfort with a choice you would have made easily in the past. You feel a quiet resistance to a path that once felt familiar. This is the spirit steering you away from what no longer fits your identity. The Stoics taught that wisdom is the ability to return to your principles after drifting from them. The spirit goes further. He helps you sense the drift before you even realize it is happening. Recalibration is also a reminder that walking with the spirit is not a straight line. It is a rhythm of returning. No one maintains perfect clarity throughout the day. The mind gets distracted, the heart gets tired, stress pulls you in different directions. But every time you drift, the spirit calls you back. Not with condemnation, not with disappointment, with invitation, with presence, with alignment. This is where many people misunderstand the nature of spiritual growth. They believe maturity means never drifting. But real maturity means noticing the drift sooner and returning faster. It means not letting your emotions take over for hours before you realize you lost your peace. It means recognizing when your thoughts have carried you away from truth and choosing to return. It means walking with the spirit not as a flawless performer, but as a responsive follower. Over time, this daily recalibration becomes one of the clearest signs of divine companionship. You begin to feel the Spirit's guidance in the slightest shifts of your internal world. You notice when your tone changes, when your thoughts veer off, when your emotion pulls you, when your mind loses focus. And in each of these moments, you sense a gentle realignment pulling you back. Not through pressure, but through presence. Walking with the Holy Spirit is not about staying perfectly centered. It is about being continually brought back to center by the one who never stops walking beside you. And the more you allow this recalibration to happen, the more your life takes on the shape of someone who is guided, protected, and deeply known. The final step, realizing you were never walking alone. There comes a moment in every person's journey where they look back and see their life with a clarity they never had while living it. It may happen after a long season of uncertainty, after a breakthrough you thought would never come, or simply in a quiet moment when your heart finally slows down enough to feel the truth that has been following you all along. In that moment, something inside you shifts. You begin to understand that every step you thought you took alone was guided. Every fear you thought you faced alone was softened by a presence you could not yet name. Every decision you thought you made in isolation was shaped by a wisdom greater than your own. This realization becomes the final step of the journey, the moment you finally see that the Holy Spirit was never beside you in fragments. He was with you in fullness. Walking with the Holy Spirit is not about learning to bring God into your life. It is about learning to recognize where He already is. Most people miss His involvement because they expect Him to appear dramatically. They imagine a loud voice, a supernatural sign, or a feeling so overwhelming that it becomes undeniable. But the Spirit's nature is gentle, steady, and consistent. His presence often feels like clarity in a moment of confusion, strength in a moment of weakness, or comfort in a moment of fear. Judith Beck explains that emotional stability often comes from recognizing supportive patterns that were already present but unnoticed. The Spirit becomes that pattern. He is the steadying force woven through your life before you ever learn to identify Him. Think of the times when you felt abandoned but somehow found the strength to continue. The nights when your mind was racing but something helped you breathe again. The seasons when you felt too overwhelmed to stand but somehow your heart refused to collapse. These were not moments of luck or resilience alone. These were moments of divine accompaniment. Andrew Huberman teaches that the body sustains itself in crisis by relying on deep internal systems designed to keep you grounded. The Spirit works through these systems, reinforcing your endurance, giving you clarity when your perception is blurred, and helping you find a way through situations that should have broken you. Now, as you look back, you begin to see a pattern. You notice how certain opportunities opened precisely when your heart was ready. You realize how delays protected you from paths that would have harmed you. You see how relationships entered and exited your life, at the exact moments you needed alignment or redirection. You begin to notice how many times your instincts felt sharpened in situations where you needed discernment. The Spirit was not stepping in occasionally. He was walking with you, step by step, thought by thought, moment by moment. This realization changes the way you interpret your entire journey. Descartes believed that truth becomes clearer when we remove assumptions and look directly at what has been consistent throughout our experience. What becomes consistent in your spiritual life is the presence of the Spirit, not your strength, not your clarity, not your discipline, His presence. You begin to see that the moments where you felt most alone were the moments He was carrying the parts of you that felt too heavy to hold. The Stoics often spoke about an inner guide that remains calm when life becomes chaotic. The Spirit embodies this perfectly. He is the inner companion whose calm does not depend on your circumstances, but on His nature. This final step is not the end of the journey. It is the moment you understand the journey differently. When you realize you have never walked alone, something in you strengthens. Your confidence shifts from self-reliance to divine partnership. Your fear loses its authority because you now understand that every unknown moment ahead will be shaped by the same presence that shaped every moment behind you. Your anxiety loses its grip because you recognize that you were carried through far more than you were aware of. Your identity becomes anchored not in what you have done, but in who has been walking with you the entire time. From this awareness comes a new way of living. You begin to move with a greater sense of purpose, knowing that your steps are not random. You begin to speak with more intention, knowing that your words carry alignment. You begin to face uncertainty with steadiness, knowing that the Spirit is not ahead of you or behind you, but with you. Every decision becomes less frightening because you know that if you drift, He will recalibrate you. If you hesitate, He will guide you. If you fall, He will lift you. If you move forward, He will walk beside you. Walking daily with the Holy Spirit is not about never stumbling. It is about realizing that every stumble happened in the presence of one who never let go of you. The final step in this journey is understanding that the Spirit's companionship is not conditional. It does not depend on your perfection, your performance, or even your awareness. He has been guiding your heart long before you had the language to describe His presence. And now, as you stand at this point in your journey, you can finally see the truth that was woven through every day of your life. You were never walking alone. You were always walking with Him.